I won $47 million in the lottery and decided to tell no one, not my siblings, not my friends, not even my husband of 20 years. 6 months later, I discovered why that was the best decision I ever made. But before we continue, make sure you're subscribed to Maee's Stories and write in the comments where you're watching this video from. We love to know how far our stories travel. My name is Linda Martinez, and I'm 52 years old. I've been a public school teacher for 28 years, living paycheck to paycheck with my husband Daniel in a modest 3-bedroom house in Sacramento, California. On an ordinary Tuesday in April, I bought a lottery ticket at the gas station, like I did every week. This time, I won. And that's when my real education began. The winning numbers flashed across my phone screen at 8:47 p.m., 7, 14, 21, 35, 42, and the Powerball 18. My numbers. Every single one. I sat in my car outside the grocery store, staring at my phone, my heart hammering so hard I thought I might pass out. I checked the numbers 3 times, 4 times, 10 times. They matched. All of them. $47 million. The lump sum after taxes would be around $23 million. My hands shook as I drove home. Daniel was already in bed, snoring softly, exhausted from his double shift at the warehouse. I stood in our bathroom, staring at myself in the mirror, the winning ticket clutched in my hand. Tell him, the rational part of my brain said. He's your husband. You share everything. But another voice, quieter but insistent, said, wait. Just wait and think. I couldn't explain the hesitation. Daniel and I had been married for 20 years. We'd weathered my mother's death, his father's alcoholism, the miscarriage that left us childless. We were partners. Teammates. We told each other everything. Except now, I wasn't sure I wanted to tell him this. I hid the ticket in my grandmother's old Bible, tucked on the top shelf of our bedroom closet where Daniel never looked. Then I climbed into bed beside my sleeping husband and stared at the ceiling until dawn. The next morning, I called in sick to school, the first sick day I'd taken in 3 years. I drove to the lottery office, 3 hours away in San Francisco, my palms sweating the entire drive. The lottery officials were professionals, clearly used to dealing with shocked winners. They walked me through the process, verification, legal paperwork, tax forms, the choice between annuity or lump sum. Most winners tell someone right away, the financial advisor assigned to my case said. Her name was Patricia, a woman in her 50s with kind eyes. Family, friends. The excitement is hard to contain. I haven't told anyone, I admitted. She nodded slowly. That's actually wise. Do you mind if I give you some advice? Please. I've worked with lottery winners for 15 years. I've seen marriages destroyed, families torn apart, friendships ruined. Money changes everything, Mrs. Martinez. Not the money itself, but people's reactions to it. I don't understand. Patricia leaned forward. When people know you have money, they change. Suddenly everyone has emergencies, investment opportunities, brilliant ideas that just need a little funding. Family members who barely spoke to you become your best friends. And it's not always conscious manipulation. Money makes people feel entitled, especially family. So you're saying I shouldn't tell anyone? I'm saying be very careful who you tell, and when. Take time to adjust. Get your financial house in order. Then decide who in your life deserves to know and who might be better off not knowing. I chose the lump sum, $23.4 million after taxes. Patricia connected me with a wealth management firm that specialized in lottery winners. Within 2 weeks, my money was secured in various investments and accounts, invisible to anyone who might look at my regular checking account. I went back to teaching. I showed up for my 7 a.m. classes, graded papers in the evening, complained about my salary at teacher meetings. Nothing changed except everything had changed. At night, lying next to Daniel, I would think about telling him. But something always stopped me. Maybe it was the way he'd been lately, coming home from work increasingly frustrated, increasingly bitter about money. Or maybe it was the conversation I'd overheard between him and his brother Marcus last month. "Linda's salary is a joke," Daniel had said, not knowing I was in the next room. 28 years teaching and she barely makes 50 grand. Sometimes I wonder what life would be like if I'd married someone more ambitious. The words had stung then. Now, they felt prophetic. I decided to run an experiment. A test, really, to see who the people in my life truly were when they thought I had nothing to offer them. My sister Rachel called 2 weeks after I'd won. "Linda, I need to talk to you about something," she said, her voice tight with stress. Rachel was 3 years younger than me, a real estate agent who'd always been better at spending money than making it. We'd been close growing up, but the relationship had become strained over the years, especially after she'd borrowed $5,000 from me 6 years ago and never paid it back. "What's going on?" I asked. "I'm in trouble. Financial trouble. I made some bad investments, and now I'm 3 months behind on my mortgage. The bank is starting foreclosure proceedings." "Oh, Rachel. I'm so sorry. I need $50,000. I know it's a lot, but if I don't come up with it in the next month, I'll lose the house. Can you and Daniel help? Maybe take out a loan or something?" I felt something cold settle in my stomach. "Rachel, I'm a teacher. Daniel works in a warehouse. We don't have $50,000. But you have equity in your house. You could refinance. And risk losing our home to save yours?" Her voice turned sharp. "So that's a no? Your own sister is about to lose everything, and you won't help?" "I can't help with $50,000 I don't have." She hung up on me. We didn't speak for the next 2 months. Then my brother Stephen called. Stephen was the successful one in the family, a software engineer who'd always made it clear he'd done better in life than his struggling siblings. "Linda, I have an incredible investment opportunity," he said, his voice full of enthusiasm. "A startup in Silicon Valley, groundbreaking technology. I'm putting in $100,000, but I need to reach my investment threshold. Can you and Daniel spare $20,000? You'd triple your money in 2 years." "Stephen, we don't have $20,000 to invest." "Come on, you could take a loan. This is guaranteed money." "If it's guaranteed, why do you need our money?" His tone changed. "I thought you'd want to get ahead for once. But I guess some people are content being mediocre forever." The line went dead. My mother-in-law, Patricia, no relation to my financial advisor, started calling more frequently. She'd never been warm toward me, always felt Daniel had married beneath him. Now, suddenly, she wanted to have lunch, to catch up, to rebuild our relationship. Over salad at an expensive restaurant I couldn't really afford, she got to the point. "Daniel tells me you're still teaching," she said, her voice dripping with disappointment. "Yes, I love my job. But surely at your age, you should be thinking about better opportunities. More lucrative ones. I have a friend whose daughter makes 6 figures in pharmaceutical sales. Maybe you should consider a career change." "I'm happy teaching." She sighed dramatically. "Daniel deserves better than scraping by. He works so hard at that warehouse. If you made more money, he could finally pursue his dreams." "What dreams?" "He's always wanted to start his own business. But he can't do that on a warehouse salary and a teacher's pittance." This was news to me. Daniel had never mentioned wanting to start a business. Over the next 3 months, I watched and learned. My sister Rachel posted on Facebook about her materialistic family members who turned their backs on her in her time of need. My brother Stephen stopped returning my calls entirely. My mother-in-law made pointed comments about women who hold their husbands back. But the real revelation came from Daniel. We were having dinner one evening, a quiet meal of spaghetti and salad, when he said, "I've been thinking about our future." "Oh. We're not getting any younger, Linda. We need to face facts. We're never going to be financially secure on our salaries. Maybe it's time to make some changes." "What kind of changes?" He put down his fork. "I've been talking to a financial advisor. If you retired early and we sold the house, we could relocate somewhere cheaper. I could use the equity to start a business. Something that could actually make us some real money." "You want me to give up teaching? You've been doing it for almost 30 years. Don't you ever want more?" "I love teaching." His face hardened. "That's the problem, isn't it? You're content with enough. You've never wanted more, never pushed for better. Do you know how that feels? To be married to someone with no ambition?" The words echoed what I'd overheard months ago, but hearing them said directly to my face was different. "I have plenty of ambition," I said quietly. "Just not for money." "Easy to say when you're not the one working double shifts in a warehouse," he snapped. That night, alone in the bathroom, I made my decision. I would tell no one. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Instead, I started putting my money to work quietly, anonymously. I paid off Rachel's mortgage through an anonymous donation to a housing relief fund she'd applied to. She posted on Facebook about her miracle, how she'd been saved by a charitable organization at the last minute. She never knew it was me. I funded a scholarship program at my school, providing full college tuition for 5 students from low-income families. The scholarship was named after my late mother, but I made sure the donations were untraceable to me. I donated to the food bank where Daniel's mother volunteered, enough to expand their operations significantly. She took credit for helping to secure the donation through her connections. It felt good, this secret generosity. Better than any shopping spree or luxury vacation would have felt. But the best use of the money came 6 months after I'd won. Daniel came home one evening looking exhausted and defeated. "I got laid off," he said, slumping onto the couch. "The warehouse is downsizing. They're keeping the younger guys who'll work for less." My heart ached for him, despite everything. "I'm so sorry." "We'll be okay," he said, though he didn't sound convinced. "Your salary will cover the basics while I look for something new." Over the next few weeks, I watched my husband transform. Without the grinding warehouse job, without the constant stress of double shifts, he became the man I'd married. He started cooking again, something he'd loved before exhaustion took over his life. He began volunteering at the community center, teaching carpentry to teenagers. He smiled more. Laughed more. "I didn't realize how much I hated that job," he admitted one evening. "I feel like I can breathe again." "Why don't you take some time?" I suggested. "Really figure out what you want to do next." "We can't afford that." "We'll manage," I said. And we did, because I quietly funneled money into our checking account, small amounts that could be explained by budgeting better or a small bonus from school. Daniel started a small carpentry business from our garage, making custom furniture. He wasn't making much money, but he was happy. Genuinely happy, for the first time in years. "You know what I realized?" he said one night, as we sat on our back porch drinking cheap wine. "I thought we needed more money to be happy. But I think I was just miserable at that job. This life, it's actually pretty good." I squeezed his hand, my heart full. "I wanted to check in," she said. "See how you're doing with everything." "I'm good. Actually, I'm great." "Have you told anyone?" "No. And I don't think I'm going to." "Really? Not even your husband?" "Especially not my husband." He's happy now, truly happy, in a way he wasn't when he was obsessing about money. If I told him about the lottery, everything would change. He'd quit his carpentry business, start chasing some bigger dream. We'd move, upgrade, buy things we don't need. And he'd lose the joy he's found in simple work, in making things with his hands. What about your family? My sister is doing well. Her mortgage is paid off, thanks to an anonymous donation. My brother is still successful and doesn't need my help. And my mother-in-law is taking credit for a large donation to her charity. Everyone is exactly where they need to be. And you? Do you ever wish you could spend it? Buy things, travel, live the wealthy lifestyle? I thought about it. Sometimes. But then I think about what I've been able to do with it. The scholarships, the donations, the small ways I've helped people without them knowing. It feels better than anything I could buy. Patricia was quiet for a moment. You're a rare person, Linda. I'm a lucky person. Lucky enough to learn the truth about the people in my life. Lucky enough to know that money doesn't buy happiness, it just amplifies who you already are. Lucky enough to understand that the best gift you can give someone is sometimes the one they never know about. 2 years after winning the lottery, my life looks almost exactly the same as it did before. I still teach 5th grade. Daniel still makes furniture in our garage. We still live in our modest house, drive our old cars, watch movies on our worn-out couch. But everything is different, too. My students have opportunities they wouldn't have had. Families in my community are getting help they desperately need. And the people I love are finding their own paths to happiness, untainted by the corrupting knowledge of my wealth. The real prize wasn't the $47 million. It was the truth I learned about wealth and happiness, about family and love, about who people really are when money is and isn't in the equation. Daniel will never know that the small carpentry jobs that keep finding him are ones I've quietly arranged through my network of contacts. Rachel will never know that her lucky break came from her sister's bank account. My students will never know that their teacher is the reason they're going to college debt-free. And that's exactly how I want it. Some secrets are meant to be kept. Some gifts are meant to be anonymous. And some fortunes are meant to be invisible, changing lives from the shadows, without fanfare or recognition. I won the lottery. But I learned something more valuable than any amount of money: the people who love you for who you are, not what you have, are the real jackpot. And protecting that truth is worth more than $47 million could ever buy. Last week, Daniel and I celebrated our 22nd wedding anniversary. We had dinner at the same modest Italian restaurant where we had our first date. We split a bottle of wine, laughed about old memories, talked about the future. You know, Daniel said, reaching across the table to take my hand, I used to think we needed money to be happy. But these last couple years, working for myself, spending more time with you, I've never been happier. We might not have much, but we have enough. We have each other. I squeezed his hand, my eyes filling with tears. We do have enough. We have more than enough. And for the first time since I'd won, I felt no guilt about my secret. Because I'd given Daniel something worth more than knowledge of the money, I'd given him the gift of discovering his own happiness, untainted by the pursuit of wealth. That night, I added a note to my will. When I die, Daniel will learn the truth. He'll discover that his wife was a multi-millionaire who lived as a teacher, who watched him struggle and helped in secret, who chose his happiness over luxury. I wrote him a letter, to be opened only after I'm gone. My dearest Daniel, if you're reading this, I'm gone. And you've just learned that I won the lottery years ago and never told you. You're probably angry. You might feel betrayed. Let me explain. I saw how money changed people, how it made my sister bitter, my brother arrogant, your mother manipulative. I watched people show their true selves when they thought there was something to gain. And I realized that telling you would change us. Not because you're greedy, but because money changes everything. It changes how we see ourselves and what we think we need to be happy. So I made a choice. I chose the version of us that existed without money's influence. The version where you discovered your passion for carpentry because you had to, not because you could. The version where we stayed in our modest home and found joy in simple things. The version where you loved me for me, not for what I could provide. I used the money to help people, our family, our community, your students. I just did it quietly. And I regret nothing. The money is yours now. Use it wisely. Use it well. But remember, we had something precious all along, something money can't buy. We had each other, truly and completely, with no pretense and no complications. That was my gift to you. I hope someday you'll understand it was the greatest gift I could give. All my love, forever, Linda. Did you like the story? And which city are you listening from? Let's meet in the comments. If you liked the story, you can support me by sending a super thanks so I can keep bringing more stories like this. Thank you so much for your sweet support. I'm looking forward to your comments on the story. On the screen, you can see 2 new life stories that I highly recommend. There's so much more on Mae's stories. Don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next life story with love and respect.